So the third chapter is actually with respect to mineral and power resources that are there in India and the world. Here, first they try to explain you what are the different types of minerals that are present and how exactly we can obtain them. So let's quickly look at what are these minerals and where do we get and how do we get. Any naturally occurring substance which has a definite chemical composition is called as a mineral. Salt or graphite and pencil, everything is called as a mineral. No need to see much. Now within this there are two types. One we call as metallic minerals and the other one we call it as non-metallic minerals. In metallic minerals it can be divided into ferrous, which has iron content present, and you also have non-ferrous. The classification is rarely asked, but still preparing for that is very, very important. So when we talk about ferrous minerals, we are talking about iron ore, manganese and chromite. And when we talk about non-ferrous, we are talking about all other metals such as gold, silver, copper, lead. Right? So this is important. In prelims they may ask you, rare possibility, but still it's important for you to see once. Then you have non-metallic minerals such as limestone, mica, gypsum. So it is not metal, but it is a mineral because it has a certain chemical composition. And then we talk about fuels, fossil fuels like coal and petroleum, which are also non-metallic minerals. So this is very, very important for us to look. How do we extract these minerals? One is mining. See, on the surface if it is present, we just dig the surface out and take the mineral. That is called as open cast mining. Say for example, if I have this as the land surface and if metal is present somewhere here, I will actually dig till here and remove this sand content and then I try to extract the mineral. But let me take a scenario, you have mineral somewhere present here. Then what I do, I usually drill inside and then go till here and then drill and take. This is what we call shaft mining. That is, if it is closer, we remove the upper part and take. But if it is deeper, then we need to go inside. So you will have some holes where the laborers will go deep inside and they go and take and come. So there are a lot of problems associated with this type of mining as well. And then you have drilling for petrol, natural gas and other things. You put borewell type and you take to extract. And then you have quarrying. It is just simply a digging out process. It is not distributed at one place. We see that okay, it may be present in this area, we dig, we take that and we close it. But in open cast mining, we usually see that it has been removed and you will be seeing layers of mining being extracted so that you can see clearly that something or some mining activity or some extraction has happened in that particular area. Not much difference between open cast mining and quarrying. The only difference is here it is limited, there it will be of huge areas. In 7th standard NCERT book, we had actually read about different rocks. We should be aware that in which rock, which type of metal or mineral is actually present. I have clearly told you that fossil fuels will be present usually in sedimentary rocks because once a sedimentation takes place, if fishes or something will die, above this again the soil particles will settle and again there will be deposition. So layers will be there. This is what we call as sedimentary rocks and here fossil fuels will be usually present. So in general, let us see what are the different things which are present in this region. Usually we observe that metallic minerals are found in igneous and metamorphic rock formations that form large plateaus. Please remember guys, mountains and plateaus, usually we find lot of minerals. Plateaus is the one where you find highest minerals. UPSC may ask you in which of the following minerals are present more, mountains, plateaus, or is it present in plains or deltas? So it is present in plateaus. Please be prepared. Plateaus has maximum. It is believed that plateaus are formed because of volcanic eruptions. So whenever magma comes from inside and erupts in the form of lava, flows out, it also carries the minerals which are present inside. So usually we observe in igneous rocks lot of minerals being present. Whereas the same igneous rocks, when they are compressed or when they are exposed to greater pressure or temperature, then we usually observe that even in metamorphic rocks, we see minerals being present. So these two are very, very important. Igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks, usually you see minerals. Iron ore is actually present in North Sweden. If you take Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden and all, iron ore is usually present in this region. Copper and nickel are usually present in Ontario. Most of the minerals are present in South Africa, and they are found either in igneous or metamorphic rocks. But when we talk about sedimentary rock formations, usually you get things like limestone, which is present mostly in the region of France. Manganese deposits are present in Georgia and Ukraine. Phosphate beds of Algeria are some examples. Again, it is not important for you to remember all this, but as NCERT book is talking about these examples specifically, please try to remember them. That is, you have to see that iron ore is present in North Sweden. Copper and nickel is present in Ontario, Canada. Iron, nickel, chromites, platinum in South Africa. Sedimentary rock formations, usually we see limestone, and limestone is present in France, Georgia, Ukraine, all this. So, isn't these minerals present in India and other parts of the world as well? Is it present only in this? No, it's present in different parts of the world. But few places are popular because of these minerals. So it is mandatory for us to associate these minerals with those countries or with those places. So that is the reason I am telling you, as NCERT book talks about this, from prelims point of view you try to remember. But from mains point of view, what exactly you should read is, you should actually take continent wise and see in that continent specifically which minerals are present and where exactly they are present. Whenever NCERT gives you distribution of few minerals, without doubt, these minerals are very, very important for us. So let's quickly look at these. First, you have Asia, right? In Asia, when I'm talking, just look at the picture first. The picture actually talks about iron, copper and bauxite, correct? So, when you take India, iron ore is actually present in Odisha, Jharkhand, Karnataka, and bauxite is present mostly in Odisha. Iron ore and bauxite is present in China. It is present in the Russian portion as well. But can you see, copper is spread across, and India do not have much copper. It's true, India does not have much copper, but when we take countries like Iran, Central Asia and all, copper is present usually more in this region. What is more important? You have to remember that iron ore is present in India and China. India has some of the best quality iron ore. Even China has best quality iron ore. Unfortunately, China is not extracting any of its iron ore reserves at all. India is extracting most of its iron ore and we are exporting it to China. So it is believed that China wants to preserve its iron ore reserves today. It wants India and other countries to give resources today. Once the minerals in India and the world gets exhausted, then it is very easy for China to start extracting its own reserves. At that time, China can have domination in these minerals. So many people say that China have a strategy to ensure that in future, it will extract its minerals only when the world community has lost its own sources. At that point of time, everything will be in the hands of China and China wants to dictate terms. So here we should be careful that before exporting raw iron ore, we should process it and export so that our industries will also be benefited. All this will be seen later, but you should remember that India and China has enough iron ore reserves. And then, can you see, in entire Africa, iron ore is present very less, only in Western Africa and Southern Africa. Some portions of iron ore is present, correct? But when we see bauxite, can you see bauxite is present here and it is also present here? It is believed that South America and Africa were together once, and the aluminium deposits, we are talking about bauxite, which is an ore of aluminium, and here only when it gets disintegrated or so you usually get bauxite. And it is believed that when you bring Africa and South America together, the bauxite ores will be closer by. So, you should remember that iron ore is present in Africa in very less quantities, but bauxite is present mostly in the Western Africa. It is also present in northern part of South America. And then when we talk about coal, between Argentina and Brazil you see coal. And can you see copper here? This portion in your atlas is Chile. And Chile has a place by name Chiquiamata. And this is actually copper town of the world. And the copper which is actually present in Chile is not present in open spaces, or it is not present closer to the earth. Usually it is present deep inside. So you go for shaft mining mostly in this region, right? So we are actually observing that iron is present in Asia a lot, but when it comes to Africa it is very less. Even when it comes to South America it is very, very less. But see guys, when we are actually talking about iron ore, can you see Canada has lot of iron ore? And some portions of US has iron ore. So Canada is also very rich in iron ore. I gave you example, right? So it's very important for us to look at this. And iron ore is present in Australia. Today, India and Australia exports iron ore and China imports iron ore much. Can you see here? UK, France, Germany, Europe, especially Eastern Europe and European part of Russia, right? Iron ore is present more. It is very, very important for us to look at iron ore. The reason for this is wherever you see iron ore and wherever you observe coal, these are very good places for development of iron and steel industries. In later chapters, I will be showing you where iron and steel industries grew. Then you should be aware of this particular diagram. What did you understand? You understood that in Asia, iron ore is present in India and China. When I take Europe, it is present in eastern part of Europe, it is present in UK, and it is also present in European part of Russia. And Australia has it. Africa, very little iron ore is present. South America, little, but Canada has iron ore as well. Apart from this, they generally speak, Asia also has deposits of manganese, bauxite, nickel. Almost all the minerals are there in Asia, so need not remember that. Europe is the leading producer of iron ore in the world. Today the statistics has changed. Yes, Europe is still producing, but along with Europe, India and Australia are also producing iron ore. The countries with large deposits are Russia, can you see? Ukraine, Sweden and France. Minerals are present in Eastern Europe and European Russia. This is given in general, so you need not worry. I'll give specifically where these minerals are present and which places are popular. But if you don't know anything and if UPSC asks you, give a brief description of the spread of mineral reserves in the world, then it is mandatory for you to write about these things. When we talk about North America North America can be divided minerally into 3 zones. That is, the Canadian region north of Great Lakes. Can you see here? This region is called as Great Lakes. Above this region, you have a plateau, Canadian Shield or plateau. Here, you usually have minerals. Second important region is Appalachian Mountains. It comes somewhere here. And the third is mountain ranges of the west, that is in this region. So there are 3 regions, this you have to write. North America can be divided on the basis of minerals into 3 zones. 1. Region above Great Lakes in Canada. Rocky Mountains, near this I told you in mountains you get. Appalachian Mountains you get minerals, right? Almost all the minerals are present. But you should remember that uranium is present in Canadian Shield region, that is in this region. Uranium is present mostly in Canada and it is also present in Australia. UPSC may ask you a question anytime with respect to uranium. The reason is India doesn't have enough uranium and we are actually dependent on other countries for uranium. And this is the reason why India wants to be member of NSG, that is Nuclear Suppliers Group. Is it fine? Now it is very, very important or it is mandatory for you to look at uranium reserves in the world, and you should remember Canada and Australia has. If you actually look at the visit of prime ministers, whether during Manmohan Singh time or during Modi's visit, we usually observe that they go to countries which has uranium reserves to sign nuclear agreements so that these countries will export uranium to us. So this is one of the major reasons why we need to look at this aspect. Then please remember the map for coal and mineral oil. Can you see that coal is present in Europe, North America? India also has coal. China has coal in this region. Japan did not had iron ore and coal much because Japan was dependent on other countries for coal and iron ore, and almost every country in the world was colonized by European powers. Japan attacked this region and they wanted to extract iron and coal. Because of this, China, Mongolia, South Korea and others do not like Japan. Historically, Japan had committed a lot of atrocities during their colonial periods. Australia has coal. And this region, can you see? Russia, North Africa and West Asia, right? West Asia, North Africa or Middle East, North Africa, Russian region, mineral oil is present. Coal is also present. Russia is exporting majority of oil to European countries. And can you see in Russia, this portion is called as Asian Russia or we call it Siberia. And this portion is actually called as European Russia. Can you see lot of minerals are actually present in the European Russia than in the Siberian region? So, Russia wants to sell oil and other things to Europe. If oil was present mostly in this region, then it would have sold it to China or it would have extracted it and sold it to India. But as it is present closer to this region, that is Europe, and Russia do not have any opening to sea. It is dependent on Black Sea. So because of this, Russia exports mostly to European countries. Now, Russia has made agreements with China that from this region, it will sell oil to. So some 400 billion pipelines are being constructed to ensure that Russia is sending oil to China. Once it comes to China, Russia believes that it can come to Pakistan also, and from Pakistan it can enter into Indian Ocean or Arabian Sea. This I'll be explaining bit later, but what I want you to remember is, in Russia, oil is actually present in the western portion which is closer to Europe, and it is not present much in eastern part, that is in the Asian part, it is not present much. Then when I talk about South America, I am talking about Brazil. It has one of the best iron ore in the world. Chile and Peru are leading producers of copper. I told you Chuquicamata, which is copper town of the world. Brazil and Bolivia produces world's largest tin, and rest is present almost in this region. Need not worry. Then when we talk about Africa, you know that South Africa has lot of mineral reserves. Africa is rich in mineral resources. It is the world's largest producer of diamonds, gold and platinum. South Africa, Zimbabwe and Zaire produce a large portion of the world's gold. Even this portion is very, very important for us. South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zaire. Here gold is present more. Diamonds are also present mostly in this region. Uranium is also present in Africa. So India is trying to have good relations with Africa for this. Please remember, both India and China, along with Japan and many other countries, are now focusing on Africa for the vast mineral reserves it has. So China wants to extract raw materials from Africa. Even India wants to extract raw materials. UPSC may ask you a question, what are the different raw materials present in Africa? At that time, you have to write this. You can see it is almost around 40 to 50 words. So if you can write this general answer, and then if you can add additional information about India and China's interest in this region, then the answer would be complete. So please ensure that in Africa, you are remembering this at any cost. There is no other continent which is more important than Africa in this chapter. The next important thing that we need to observe is actually with respect to Australia. When I talk about Australia, it is the largest producer of bauxite in the world. Bauxite, where it is present? Australia. And it is a leading producer of gold, diamond, iron ore, nickel. The region Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie areas of Western Australia have the largest deposits of gold. Can you locate them in your atlas? I'll take atlas and I'll tell you all this once, but I want you to locate it now. Can you pause, go back to your atlas and find these two places? And in general, if they ask about Antarctica, everything is not explored yet. Only few things are explored, and they have just given coal, iron ore is present in this region. Then comes distribution of resources in India. Not required in this book. In further NCERT books, with clarity, I'll explain which minerals are present in which part. The reason for this is, India can be geographically divided into different plateaus, plains and regions. Once we differentiate it, it will be easy for you to locate which mineral is present in which part. Once I do that, it will be very easy for you to locate which area has what type of soil. Because if you have iron ore present in a particular area, then you usually observe that red color soil will be present in that area. If you see black soil, then you will understand that there you had basalt or volcanic eruption, and that region is very good for cotton growth. So all this information will be seen over a period of time. So here, please don't look into this because it is very general. I want you to have India map, and for every mineral, you want to draw a separate map and identify the areas where the minerals are actually present. Next, you can quickly come to page 30 where we have conventional sources. When we talk about conventional sources, you have two things. One is fossil fuels and others, and you have minerals as well. When I talk about fossil fuels, we talk about firewood. See, if you have a plant, and if this plant fell down, and sand and other things fall on the sedimentary rocks. First, this will become lignite. First stage is called as peat. Second stage is called as lignite. Before peat, we get fuel wood or firewood. Fuel wood, peat, lignite. Then you get bituminous coal. And then you get anthracite coal. Sir, what are you talking? I am not understanding. I am talking about, I can go cut the trees, take the wood and come. When I cut and take the wood, ash content will be usually more in that. But when it is buried for some time, first what you get is peat. Like I have a tree fallen and some 20 years or 30 years, the sand has deposited on that. I get peat. More deposition takes place. After 100 years, I may get lignite. After 500 years, I may get bituminous coal. What is the difference between peat, lignite and bituminous? When you compress more, the ash content and others, sulfur content and all will be removed. Usually, you will get better quality coal. So, peat is least quality, lignite is better than peat, bituminous is better than lignite, anthracite is the best. So, in anthracite you usually see 85% coal. And anthracite is not present everywhere. Wherever there is compression or whenever you have high pressure or temperature on particular coal, you get anthracite. We usually say that anthracite is a metamorphic rock. In India, usually anthracite is present near Jammu and Kashmir, where near Himalayas, when the Himalayas were formed, the two plates, I was talking about plates, they compressed in such a way that the bituminous and other coal which were there, they compressed to form anthracite. Right? I will be talking, but you should be aware that coal has different stages. If I have fish, animals or human beings, when they are buried, then you get natural gas or you get petrol. So what did you understand? If you have trees buried, you get coal. If you have animals buried, you get petrol or natural gas. Both these are important for us. So, where exactly do we see coal? It is actually present in China, USA, Germany, Russia, South Africa and France. India is also major producer of coal. Usually coal is present in the Chotanagpur plateau, which spreads across Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha. In this region you find coal a lot. It is also called as buried sunshine. The coal which we are using today was formed millions of years when ferns and swamps got buried under the layers of the earth. This is what I told you, right? So it is used for thermal power production. Thermal power is produced by burning coal. So coal is very important for electricity generation because in India, usually electricity is produced through thermal power. Then you have petroleum. It is called as black gold. Along with petroleum, you also get diesel, kerosene, wax, plastics and lubricants. India imports raw petrol and exports these products. So India, in our exports, if we see, what we export more is petroleum products, what we import more is petroleum products. The reason is raw petrol is imported and finished products is exported. Where do you see? I told you petrol is present mostly in Russia, North Africa and West Asia. Can you see? Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, USA, Russia, Venezuela and Algeria. In India, it is present in Assam, Bombay High and deltas of Krishna and Godavari. I have told you clearly, I will be talking to you with respect to India in detail. Don't go by this. Today, the production level has improved. When we talk about wind energy or so, examples given here are outdated. You have new things where wind energy, tidal energy are all present. So let's quickly see what are some of the non-conventional things that we have. Natural gas. Natural gas is found with petroleum deposits and it is also released when crude oil is brought to the surface. Whenever you bring the oil to the surface, along with this the gas comes out, it is natural gas. Russia has largest, Qatar has highest natural gas. Along with that, Norway, UK and Netherlands are also great producers. In India, Jaisalmer in Rajasthan and Krishna Godavari Delta usually we see. Tripura is also one region where natural gas is said to be present. Then we talk about tidal power project, that is either through rivers or wherever you have falls, waterfalls, you usually go for tidal power production. No need to understand the turbine and other things because UPSC will not ask you such basic questions that which turbine is used or how it is generated and all. That is not required. But when we talk, there are two types of reservoirs. One which stores the water and produce electricity. The second one is run of the river. Why it is important? When we talk about India and Pakistan, the rivers which flow between India and Pakistan is Indus and its tributaries. You have 6 rivers in between India and Pakistan. 3 rivers are given to Pakistan and 3 rivers are given to India. But it is also said that the 3 rivers which is given to Pakistan, India can actually build tidal power projects on this. And when India constructs tidal power projects on these, then it is said that we cannot store more water. So what we do, normally when you have a river flow, I construct a dam so that the water storage increases. And then slowly I open the gate and water flows out, turbine will be kept and it generates electricity. Now with Pakistan rivers, what we do, we go for run of the river. The meaning of this is, if the river is flowing like this, I construct the turbine here so that I am not storing the water much. Even if I store, it is very less. Right? So this is what we call run of the river. It does not store much. UPSC asked what is run of the river because of Indo-Pakistan issue. So sometimes whenever India, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh some issue comes up, there is a possibility that immediately they link it with geography. So you should be aware about this. And then the next important thing that we need to focus is about solar energy. Earlier India had biggest problem with respect to solar energy because we didn't had required technology. Place was one of the major problem because if you want to produce solar energy, place that you need to install them was huge. But today, when we see, we have on rivers, dams, buildings, we are going for these mirrors so that you can actually produce more solar energy, right? So what you see here and what is happening in country today, there is huge change. So from current affairs, we have to pick about the solar energy. But what India lacks is good panels and we do not have batteries to store them. So that technology we are actually, or those cells we are actually getting from outside. And then you have wind energy. Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, UK, US and Spain. You have to remember this, in these countries wind energy is very good, especially Germany. And Germany is actually helping India to develop wind energy. Nuclear power, nuclear reactors, don't read here. If possible, please read science and technology, but what you need to remember is uranium is present in India in Jharkhand and thorium is present in large quantities in monazite sands of Kerala. These two information is very, very important. Then next, you have something called as geothermal energy. Yesterday I was telling you, the temperature in the interior of the earth rises steadily as we go deeper. I have told you, on the surface, in the atmosphere, temperature decreases with increasing height. But if you go inside, temperature increases with increasing height. Sometimes this heat energy may surface itself in the form of hot springs. That is, if you have high temperature inside And whenever water goes in, when there is heavy rainfall or so, water may percolate down. And this water will be heated up. And they come out in the form of hot springs. So this is called as geothermal energy, and in India it is present in Manikarn. Cooking food and other things can be easily done with the help of this, but usage of this is limited as we do not have required technology to store this energy. This is important. In India, geothermal plants are present in Manikarn in Himachal Pradesh and Puga Valley in Ladakh. Least possibility you may get a question, but still, USA is the world's largest producer. New Zealand, Iceland, Central America also has this. Then you have to look at tidal energy. What is this? I have told about high tide and low tide, correct? Whenever you have high tide, water actually enters and they run the turbine and they produce electricity. So during low tide, water will go back, and even during that time, we usually observe that the electricity is produced. So whenever the water moves in and goes back with force, at that time the turbines will rotate and they produce electricity. Then you have biogas, where in villages the sewage, organic waste, everything is dumped in a tank, and this is allowed to ferment and they produce gas. See, you add here, it comes down here, right? They produce gas, and the gas tank will be connected to the kitchen so that you can use it for burning fuel and cooking. So this is what we talk about biogas. I don't want to explain all this in detail because these are basics and you read in science and technology. But in geography, what is more important for us is the locations of this. In India, Bihar and other region, usually we go for biogas productions. So guys, these are some of the things with respect to energy resources. Please consider this topic as economic geography, where for both economy and geography, you should be aware of this. And if you are aware of the presence of mineral reserves in the world, it is easy for you to write in economics, and also it is easy for you to write in international relations, because if a country has more uranium reserves, India will be willing to do trade with that country in uranium reserves. If a country has less uranium reserves, then we will be focusing less on uranium, right? So it's very, very important for us to look at this. So after this, let's quickly move to the next chapter.